Hey eBay sellers, it's Robert here, and just like my title says, today's video is going to be all about selling shoes on eBay. If you're going out and hitting the thrift stores and you're dealing with clothing already, then shoes are going to be a great place for you to kind of segue into, especially if you're dealing with clothing where you're in that $10 to $20 as far as like your average sale price, and you're starting to realize that you're just having to list so many items for it to really seem worthwhile. Shoes are going to be a really easy way for you to start jumping up where you're at least kind of in that $25 to $40 range. And I think if you do some research and you become familiar with some of the brands that I'm going to introduce you to today, then you can very easily start jumping up into that $40 to $60 average price point, and have those occasional sales of over $100. But there's a lot of opportunity for you to take shoes and immediately jump your average sale price, double what you might be playing in if you're just dealing with a lot of, thrifted clothing, the everyday type of brands that you find. Shoes are a way that you can still find, everyday brands, but immediately up your average sale price. The types of shoes that I'm going to focus on in today's video are going to be more like smart casual, semi-formal, and formal shoes. I would say largely we'll call them dress shoes and the like. But they're all going to pretty much be leather shoes or some other type of natural material, as opposed to focusing on like canvas or sneakers, athletic shoes. We're going to save those for another day. Dress shoes is a big enough category for us to kind of hone in on a handful of brands that you can go out and consistently find and make some pretty good money on. With dress shoes, a couple of things that you want to just immediately know, don't bother with, and can kind of eliminate, even if you're not looking at specific brands, but you can just very quickly identify whether a shoe is even worth looking at or not. Stay away from anything that is a man-made upper. You want to be dealing with strictly actual leather upper materials. If the sole itself is like rubber or is a man-made, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but you do want to make sure that the actual upper, the part that you're looking at, is leather, not a man-made material. That's going to immediately separate fairly low-end dress shoes from higher quality dress shoes. Also keep a lookout for any brand that you see genuine crocodile, alligator, snake, ostrich, lizard, eel, anything that's like an actual animal hide in shoes. Even if it's a brand that I haven't mentioned today, it's worth looking into. I just this past week sold a pair of shoes that were genuine eel skin, and I bought those for about $8. It was a brand I'd never heard of, but they sold for $75, and it took about 3 months, but it ended up being a really good sale. It's a brand I've never really seen since. There was hardly any of this brand listed on eBay. It was Carlo Mundi. It was a Korean company. But just because it was eel skin and they were really pretty, they were in great shape, I knew that it was worth picking up, and eventually I'd find a buyer that was looking for that shoe. So natural, exotic skin shoes are always going to be worth picking up. I'm also not going to focus a lot on brands that I don't tend to find very much, but are virtually no-brainer brands regardless of what item category you're looking at. So brands like Gucci, Armani, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, I don't find those brands a lot in shoes, and yes, you will stumble across them. And and usually in any brand, if you find Gucci and it's genuine Gucci, it almost doesn't matter what the item is, right? You pick it up. You are gonna make money on it, unless Goodwill has just gotten insane. But you can pay $20, $30 for a pair of real Gucci shoes and know that you can still make really good money on them. I just haven't found a lot of them. With that being said, I have stumbled on some Prada. I have stumbled on a pair of Gucci, Armani, Hugo Boss. Some of these brands you will still come across from time to time, and it's very likely you can get over $100 for those. I think every single one of those, I at least sold it for $100. but they're not those brands that you're gonna really work to build up an inventory with and you're finding a lot. So keep them in mind. If it's a brand name that you just know and it's like high-end designer brand, Salvatore Ferragamo, a lot of those, they're worth picking up, but don't expect to, you know, find them on a consistent basis. So just wanted to get that out of the way. The other thing is really recognizing the condition with shoes. You know, if the uppers have a lot of significant damage to them where they're just, I mean, majorly scuffed, most of these brands I'm going to talk about, I'm pretty selective now, you know, a year into it and having quite a bit of inventory built up. I'm pretty selective as to the condition that these shoes are in, and I don't want to generally buy something where there's, you know, a major gash in a noticeable part of the shoe where if you're wearing this shoe and people are looking at it, it immediately, you know, catches the eye. I also want to make sure that the sole is still intact. It's not worn through to the point that you could stick your finger up inside the shoe. You'll find plenty of shoes like that. You'll find a lot of shoes where the heel itself is just completely shaved down on the outside. Most shoes you'll find that if they've been worn, the outside of the heel will have some wear to it. That's totally normal, but you don't want it to just be like a striking angle. A little bit, and I don't, you know, bother too much, especially if it's a higher end brand. I don't worry too much about that. But if it's just like somebody took and hacked a knife down the side of it, I don't generally bother with those too much anymore. So there's enough shoes out there that you can get with the ability to maybe give them a little bit of a cleaning and then call it a day, that it's not worth spending a lot of time trying to clean up a pair of shoes that has elements to it you can't really fix or repair on your own, and you would need to take like to a cobbler to just replace the heel or replace the sole. Guys, one cool thing with selling shoes is USPS has a specific box that they actually call a shoe box. You can go onto their website, USPS.com, order these in like bundles of 25, and they will even deliver them to you for free. So this is a great box for shoes. You know, I'd say 80-90% of all the shoes that I ship out, I ship in this box. Mostly the ones that I don't are like boots, where they're just too long in both directions for me to put them in here, and then I use some of the other boxes available from USPS. But with a pair of shoes in them, guys, it looks just like this, and it's really a perfect size for, like I said, 80-90% of the shoes that you'll pick up, and they're free. So the only thing I use in addition to that is a poly mailer that I drop most of my shoes in. And the reason I do that is just so that they're sealed up inside the box, and if they get delivered somewhere where it's raining or something and they're sitting outside, the shoes don't get wet and damaged. So these poly mailers, I'll have a link down in my description, and these are super cheap. You can buy them in bundles on Amazon, you know, very inexpensively on a per unit basis, but it's just one additional way to kind of protect them from any elements that they might be exposed to during the shipping process. The box, the poly mailer, and then the label that I actually put on the box is basically the only three things that are used in addition to the shoes themselves when I ship them. So as long as you have a digital shipping scale, which again, I'll put a link down in the description. I've talked about this in my other videos. That could save you a ton of money when you guys go to do the shipping if you have the ability to weigh and print your own labels and not have to do that at USPS and give them the address and all that. Doing it on your own through eBay will allow you to get discounts on the shipping. So when your customer pays $10, then, you know, usually you'll see yours is maybe $8 or $9, and that gives you an opportunity to make another couple bucks on the shipping side. But you need the ability to print those labels at home through eBay, and it's gonna, you know, require that you know what the weight is when you go to print your label. So pretty simple as far as the tools that you need to sell shoes for the shipping part of it. And the only other real thing that I use consistently when it comes to shoes is just some leather cleaners and some shoe polish, just to kind of put their best foot forward, no pun intended, when I go to sell. Guys, jumping right into the brands. I'm going to focus on brands that I come across quite often that I am pretty successful with actually getting sales on. The Pradas, the Gucci, when you find them, they're great. I just don't find them a lot, so I want to hone in on brands that I do find quite often that are selling, you know, at least in that $25 to $30 range, and ideally are going to give you the opportunity to play in that $50 to $80. And we're talking about used items here, guys, so we're still thinking, you know, along the line of thrift stores, but shoes just, they can definitely dictate a higher price point than what a lot of other clothing items will. So guys, here's a Allen Edmond shoe, and with Allen Edmond, a couple things to note. A lot of different styles. The style here that we're looking at is a wingtip with some broguing going on the side. This is definitely a very popular style for kind of your Oxford look, but you know, a little bit more. Guys, this first one here, this is an Allen Edmond with some wingtip and broguing going on the sides. Again, as I mentioned, it's an actual genuine leather upper. With Allen Edmonds, you'll always see right in here on the heel insole, it'll say Allen Edmonds. It should say made in the USA, and then it'll have a name like this particular one is Auburn. But there's going to be some kind of name. That's the series name. Now the actual size information on it will be on the side of the shoe, and it'll give you the size, and like this one's 10.5. Then it'll have a letter next to it, which is the width. So like this one, the width is D, which is a medium size. And then right after that, you're going to see a series of numbers. I don't remember specifically without looking at the listings which one is going to be the actual style, but if you use the actual name that's printed on the inside of the shoe, that will that's an item you want to include in the listing, and is one of the easiest ways to find out, you know, what that specific model is selling for on eBay. When I was talking about the bottoms of the shoes, guys, this area here, we want to make sure, like this one, you can see it's definitely got a lot of wear on the toe, but there's no real soft spots to it. It's actually all hard and intact over here. When we start to feel like sponginess, we know it's really worn through, and it might not be long before we can just poke our finger right through. And then the other thing, like this particular one, whoever was using it before put one of these plastic heel protectors, so that's actually kept this heel really intact. But this is right on the outside of the shoe where we'll see that start to get worn down. And the heel and the sole, you definitely don't want to overlook the condition that these are in, because that can really impact how much they go for. We also want to make sure that there's no, you know, tears along the stitching connecting the sole to the upper, and that there's no major scuffs or tears on the shoe itself. This particular pair of Allen Edmonds is in really good shape. Guys, the next brand that I really like is Haan. That's H-A-A-N. Haan's a great shoe. I actually like wearing Haan's myself, and they're in that kind of mid to higher end dress shoe. They're not, you know, a super expensive shoe, but they do have plenty of shoes that are up in that couple $100s new. So you find a pair that's, you know, under $10, and you can usually on the dress shoes, if they're in good shape, get 30-40 bucks for them. One, like this particular style here, is what we would consider a loafer. You know, there's no laces or anything. It's just like a slip-on shoe. I do find with loafers, I'm not a huge fan of the loafers that have the tassels on them. I know that those sell, but I haven't had a lot of success with the tasseled shoes, so I kind of stay away from those myself unless they're just in really, really good condition. Larger sizes always sell a little bit better than, you know, your 8.5s. Extra widths do well, but if they're in good condition, you know, there's a shoe size out there that everybody's looking for. So Haan, that's the next one. Third brand, guys, and another loafer here for you as an example, is Ecco, E-C-C-O. Echoes, go on eBay and you'll see these sell for a lot, and I feel like they get overlooked quite often. But I do pretty well selling Echoes, and I've had a lot of sales with these that have been in that $50 to $60 range. Just like the Haan, a lot of the Echoes are going to be a rubber sole. Don't let that deter you. As I mentioned, as long as it's a leather upper, the rubber sole is something a lot of people like because there's comfort with it. Just like the Haans, they have like a Nike technology in their soles. The Echoes are definitely known for being a very comfortable shoe. So people that have Echoes, that like them, continue to go back to them, and you will notice that they do pretty well. This one's like considered like a driving shoe, which means it's got this rubber part that kind of rubs comes up the top of the shoe. Just a side note. And Echoes, usually you'll see a completely different sizing. So like this one here is a size 46. That's the European size. You can Google, get a chart, and it'll show you exactly what the conversion is from European size to American size. But on Ecco, a lot of times you won't actually see an American size on it. So some will, but a lot of them do not. Next up, Johnston and Murphy. Johnston and Murphy is a brand you'll see a lot. I'm actually not a huge fan of Johnston & Murphy. It's not one that I've had a tremendous amount of success with. I have a lot of Johnston & Murphys that I've been sitting on for quite a while. But if they're in really good shape, there's plenty of them that are selling. So maybe I just need to go back and review my listings, see if I'm leaving out some crucial info. I need to retake some pictures. This is what I was talking about to you guys with the tassels. I'm not usually a big fan of these. I don't see as many of these selling unless they're in a really good shape. This pair of Johnston & Murphys is actually in really good shape. Heels, even the soles are in pretty good condition here. So those things definitely make a difference on every pair of shoes. Conditions. So Florsheim Imperials are a good shoe. Regular Florsheims you can pass up, but Florsheim Imperials are an older version and much more sought after. They're better quality shoes. The listing I have, probably the quickest acceleration of views on for shoes, was actually Florsheim Imperials. And this pair right here actually that I'm holding, which haven't sold yet, but as many views as they're getting, it's just a matter of time. Because these are older shoes, sometimes these can be a little bit harder to find the info on if it's been worn out. So you may have to kind of check and measure the insides of the shoes so you can provide all that proper information to buyers if it's not on there. That's what I had to do with this pair. But there's plenty of people out there looking for them, so these are a good one to keep your eyes out for. Guys, Footjoy is another brand that you will see a lot more as golf. I mean, that's really what they're known for, but occasionally you'll come across a pair that's not got spikes on the bottom, that's a leather upper. Ideally, it'll say Footjoy Classic, which means it was made in the United States, and those definitely fetch a higher price. This particular one I grabbed because it's got a saddle on the shoe, so you can see it's got this coordinating darker leather over the rest of the upper. And that's just another style of dress shoe that you'll come across. So I just wanted to point that out as an example. All of these terms are things that are worth learning as you're looking at shoes, because you want to include those things in the listings. People will look specifically for monk strap shoes or saddle shoes, Oxfords, wingtips, brogues, all these different features on the shoes. People will be looking for those, and if you have a pair, you want to make sure that you're putting that in the title so that people that are looking specifically for that are more likely to find your listing. Next brand, a brand called Mezlan. Mezlan's another dress shoe. I don't think I've found any shoes from them that are not dress shoes, so I'm pretty sure that's kind of what they specialize in. M-E-Z-L-A-N is how that one's spelled, and I've come across these quite a bit. You go on eBay, you'll find there's a lot of Mezlans that sell $80 and up, so it's not difficult to get at least $40, $50 on a pair of Mezlans, and I often find these under $10. I found them as little as $4 or $5. I don't know if it's just a name that people aren't as familiar with. and Goodwill associates just look at it and it's like, nothing special. But this is one that, a lot of times you'll make your money because you can buy them fairly inexpensively, and it's just because nobody's, as familiar with this brand name. At least that's been my experience so far. They do, I've got a couple pairs that I found that were crocodile, and again, those will usually fetch a higher price than leather. Another brand I like, guys, Bruno Magli. I think it's pronounced Magli. It's M-A-G-L-I. And this one here is Bruno Magli. It's made in Italy. Great shoe. You will find a lot of these up in that $800 and above. So this is definitely a brand that is worth keeping your eye out for. And surprisingly, I found quite a few times. Unfortunately, a few of those times it was in just such bad condition, I didn't even want to bother with them. But if it's in, a condition where I can give it a shoe shine, clean it up a little bit, then it's hard to not make money on this particular brand. Alright guys, next one. This is another one of those brands like a Bruno Magli you can make a lot of money on. This is Magnanni, M-A-G-N-A-N-N-I, and Magnanni's very easily you can get $100 for if you find a really good condition pair and they're kind of unique. This one here has like a monk strap. This one I just found earlier today and it's almost flawless. No wear to the heel. Sole looks beautiful and it's just a very classy shoe. I've been told that this is a really comfortable shoe, and it must be because they sell a lot of them on eBay and they sell for a high price. I've found a lot of Magnannis too, so it's not such a uncommon brand that you're just going to stumble upon them once in a blue moon. I probably see these at least once a month, like once every 8 to 10 visits to a Goodwill. I'll come across a pair of Magnannis, and then it's just a question of what kind of condition that they're in. But they're really nice shoes, and they do sell for easily $50 and up. Even in like pretty used condition. But when you come across a pair like these that are in really good condition, now it's not unreasonable to get $80, $100 or more for them. And like this pair I picked up today for $7.99 minus 20% with the discount. So for a pair of shoes that I paid $6 and change for, that's a pretty huge profit. Alright, moving along, I'm trying to grab some different shoes that I have on hand that show different features. Here's another one that's got a monk strap to it. A monk strap being that strap that comes over. This is like a single monk strap. It's kind of on the thicker side. Sometimes you'll find a pair that's a double monk strap where they've got two that go across. But this is a really unique dress shoe compared to just your standard Oxford. Just another really classy kind of unique look for a dress shoe. So this particular one is a brand called Aldo, and Aldo's I believe are a brand you can get at like Nordstrom's, but this is kind of one of those that you can get in good condition and getting that $40 to $60 range on a lot of these. Every single one of these I'm showing you guys, you need to do a little bit of your own research to kind of hone in on specifically what styles sell in each and kind of what type of price points you're going to be able to get with certain types of condition on them. But most of these, even if they're not in the best of condition, you can get $30 for with the used, because the brand new pairs are just so expensive. So Aldo is definitely a brand that I think you can find on a fairly consistent basis, especially if you're in a city that's got the Nordstroms or a Nordstrom rack. That's where a lot of these brands I'm showing you today are originally purchased through. So yeah, there's another one for you, Aldo. Guys, in terms of dress shoes, that hits most of the brands that I really like. I'm going to show you a couple bonus brands that are worth keeping an eye out for. I just happened to stumble across this particular pair earlier today and hadn't really ever seen it. But coming across it, I found that these sell for pretty much a minimum of what I saw even on the used was $50. And that's a brand called Toto. So this shoe is kind of funny. If you look at the inside of it, and I don't know if it'll show it on the video very well, but the inside of it actually slopes up, and it's basically like a high heel for men. So this shoe with the heel on the bottom and the additional boost of about this much on the inside of the shoe is giving a guy probably every bit of 4 inches of height increase. So any guy out there that's, you know, self-conscious about his height and wants to try and sneak a few inches in there, do a little false advertising when he's out and about, this is a shoe that would accomplish that. So when I went on eBay and looked up Toto, I found that they sell, like I said, for a minimum of $50, but there was a lot of them that were up in that $80 to $100 range, and most of those were in pretty good shape. But yeah, I would say not just this brand, but if there's other brands out there or other shoes that you come across thrifting that you can see are basically designed to give men a boost in height, that's worth looking up. Toto's just happens to be the brand that I found and the only one that I know of at this point, but that's a feature that you can keep an eye out for. A lot of the elements of improving your shoe sales, guys, is going to be becoming familiar with the condition to look out for, specific features to look out for, and the particular brands, right? So not just knowing the brands, but being able to walk into a Goodwill or another thrift store. If you see a rack of 100 shoes, you can immediately say, okay, well, there's a pair of monk straps, there's a pair of Chelsea boots, this one's got the wingtip, and you'll start to even know, like, oh, that's probably a pair of, you know, Eccos or Haans. There's certain features you'll start to see consistency with in the different brands. It'll save you a ton of time, and it'll help you to identify really quickly whether a shoe is of quality or not, even if it's not a brand that you've heard of. There's a lot of brands that I've come across that I've made good money on that are completely unfamiliar to me. I've never seen anybody talk about in a YouTube video, but I just happened to notice it had high quality in the construction of it, and it was in good condition. So that was enough to get me to grab it, look up the brand, do a little bit of research, and find that yes, I could in fact make money on it. That's exactly what this one here was. You know, I noticed, okay, well, this has got a really unique feature. It's basically a boosted shoe. Let's see if there's anything to it. And sure enough, there was. So guys, that's it. Selling shoes on eBay is pretty easy, and it's a great transition for anybody that's already going out to thrift stores and picking up clothing. If you're getting the used clothes, putting them on eBay, and you're a little bit, you know, frustrated with the particular price points that you're working in, you're trying to bump up your average sale price, then moving over to shoes is a really great way to do that. Especially with the dress shoes, you'll find that there's so many brands out there that sell for $200-300 that do get dropped off at thrift stores that you can then turn around, pick them up for $5 to $10 and be selling, you know, $50-60. That's not hard to do. I've been selling on eBay now for about a year. Shoes have been a big part of my business, and they've definitely been the item that consistently is selling for that $40 to $100. You know, clothes I've had a lot of success with in certain arenas, but shoes definitely on average tend to get a higher price point. If you liked this video, if you found it useful, please hit that thumbs up button for me. Hit the subscribe button to see other videos that I'll come out with in the future. Go check out some of my other videos. My tie videos, my first one that's hit 1,000 views, so that was pretty exciting. Thank you for those of you that have watched it. And comment down below. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I was confusing on or I should clarify a little bit more, I'm happy to do that down in the comments. I see all of them. I try to respond to all of the comments, so more than happy to expand in any areas that I forgot about in this video. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.